Okay. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Threecast. I'm your host, Matthew Weber. I'm joined by Vincent Hui.
Hey, what's up?
Ricky is not here. He's off doing whatever Ricky does, probably raising a third or fourth child by now. Seems to be he alone is between Vincent and Ricky. They're making sure that the human race doesn't go extinct. A good job, because I am not going to contribute to that. I'm just saying that. And that's good news for everybody. I think we don't need any more little assholes running around with my last name. All right. Anyways, this is the Threecast, where we take a movie, we review it, we talk about it. Sometimes we do a TV show when Ricky forces us. Sometimes we do a comic. We haven't done a comic in an awful long time, Vince.
Now, man, jeez.
Yeah, we should do a few comics for the next few times.
Okay, I'll go with that.
I think Ricky has one coming up with a Flashpoint arc. I've never heard of that.
Crap. I have. He's a DC guy, that's why.
Well, that explains it. And I'll try to find one that's not for my pick. I'll try to find one that's not Ducks and Hitler or whatever the hell it was.
Yep.
I'll make sure.
Thank you.
I make sure I'll read it beforehand. I need to find that episode and see if it's still online and living into me. Anyway, so tonight's movie is Blood Diamond. It stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Connelly.
Yep.
Right. And I can't pronounce the other guy's name.
Digimon Houston, isn't it?
I'm not. Like I said, I think I might be thinking of somebody else. But anyways, Vince, why don't you tell us what this movie is about?
Okay, I'll be the first to admit that this movie is old, and I am recounting this because I haven't watched it recently, but I'll just give the rough synopsis from what I recall. Basically, it takes place in Africa. I think it was like Sierra Leone or I can't remember what country, but basically one of those, really terrible countries where there are lots of warlords fighting it out, and the warlords are able to facilitate their mass extinctions by excavating lands and getting diamonds on the black market. So this whole entire movie is basically based on World of Warcraft. Then you guys watch the World of Warcraft, will know that it's basically get a bunch of people to mine stuff for you so that you can get more currency to fight off other troops. So with that all said, what we have is Digimon Houston's character. I don't remember. I'm terrible at this. But he basically plays a reluctantly captured, I think he was a fisherman or something, and he gets captured and then put into slave labor to do mining work for extraction of diamonds. He eventually does find one, and it proves to be a huge diamond, and he decides to hide it away. And then this movie is all about serendipity. But once he's found this diamond, if I recall, he just basically there's some sort of convoluted plot where he ends up getting meeting up with Leonardo DiCaprio, who, incidentally, this is probably the finest acting I've ever seen from him. I think everyone makes a big deal of him in Gilbert Grape playing the Down syndrome guy. I think this one's actually legit decent acting because I actually find that the character that he plays is a scrupulous kind of smuggler, and he actually does a really damn good job of a South African accent. I'm not sure if that was intended. Yeah. Surprised, and I was thinking about this. I was like, "Holy crap! That movie came out like 10 years ago, and that he wasn't exactly like Robert De Niro, so he actually had some acting chops way back then. So I guess that kind of works out." In any event, he basically there's a whole bunch of twists and turns about trust issues about the diamond, because this diamond is clearly, and you guys ever bought an engagement ring or bought any jewelry for your significant other knows that diamonds are expensive. This diamond is a huge rock, probably worth. Did they ever say how much the diamond's worth in the movie?
I don't think so. No, because I don't think that they ever did a valuation on it. Then they just stored it in like a vault at the end.
Hey, don't give it. Yeah, well, there's convoluted stuff in the process of the movie, and what ultimately happens is that Digimon Houston's character basically his family is kind of atomized, and his son is basically enlisted, unfortunately, into what is all too common, the child soldier kind of situation. So in order to save his family, he basically has to go against his captors. Eventually, they end up meeting up with Jennifer Connelly's character, who is a reporter. And long story short, there's a whole entire discussion about, there's a Mexican standoff, so to speak, where basically at the end of the day, Leonardo DiCaprio's character dies. And Matt and I, prior to the show recording, were just talking about how often he actually does die. He's not like Game of Thrones Sean Bean level of death, but he dies in his movies now. But in any event, he basically gives up his life. Digimon Houston, or Houston, or whatever you want to call it, he gets reunited with his family, and the Jennifer Connelly news reporter is able to make a Pulitzer Prize-winning article about it, and everyone ends at the end because she basically entraps and ensures that the illicit diamond affair is captured for the world's attention. And yeah, that's pretty much it, if I recall properly.
Yeah, it also rounds the way that Leonardo DiCaprio gets Houston guys assistance in finding the diamond is in return for finding his family, right? Because his family is captured by the warlord, but is eventually freed and then sent to a refugee camp, right?
Yeah.
Except for the little kid who actually ends up being turned into like a child soldier, right?
Soldier, yeah.
Yep. So there's a whole bunch. What interests me most about so you're right. This is probably my favorite Leonardo DiCaprio movie, maybe close to The Departed, but I like The Departed mainly because it's just violent. But this one here is very. It obviously captures a lot of social issues. The thing about blood diamonds, child soldiers, genocide, and things like that. So it's very, very deep. So and you're right, Leonardo DiCaprio does a very good job in this movie, surprisingly. I think that it's just it shows so much of what goes on over there. I'm assuming most of it's accurate. I don't know. It seems kind of shameful to not know, these kind of things. But I'm just not kind of really read up on if this stuff actually happens. But we know it does happen. It just kind of brought it to the forefront. That's why it was such a interesting and well thought out movie. What did you think about the movie in general, Vince?
You know what? It raises up poignant issues, but I would rather have. I'm not sure if you watched Beasts of No Nation. I can't remember what it was, but it had Idris Elba in it and it really portrayed the child soldier and the African warlord situation in a lot more, direct manner. I think the movie that the Blood Diamonds movie is raising a bunch of good issues, as you mentioned. However, I don't think it does it justice. I think that it's very it's good at getting the general public's awareness of the situation, but I think the Hollywoodization of things, the happy ending. I live in Canada, where it's a country full of lots of refugees, and every day we hear stories about who we take in, and we go, wow, we just liberated these people, and they came from absolute terribly bad lives, and then they make something of themselves in Canada. But it's just really remarkable to hear all these stories about genocide and people living in absolute squalor or fighting against relatives because their cousins were child soldiers. So I think at the end of the day, it raises issues, but it's not really that great in terms of talking about those in a meaningful way. I don't think it made anyone for a second reconsider giving diamonds for their spouses. I don't. If anything, they should have actually been a little bit more heavy-handed with condemning the kind of markups that you get from diamonds, which fundamentally are driven by all of one company, De Beers, And at the end of the day, too, I think that the movie, despite its intentions and its failings, I think that it really relied a lot on its star power to make the movie strong. The fact that you needed a lot of, say it, but you need a lot of white mainstream actors to actually sell the movie, and the fact that you had beautiful white people, whether it's DiCaprio or Connelly, helping the plight of the poor black family. I think that's something that really is something that in today's era, like this is just like 10 years out from that movie. I think that people would raise a lot of questions about, like, oh, it's the white people saving the black people again. I mean, not like level of what Oscars so white kind of thing, but it's just I think that, Matt, do you think that they would be able to get away with something like that in today's time?
I think that they would try, mainly because, I mean, I don't know who. I mean, we could talk about this. Who would work in Leonardo DiCaprio's place if they were to do this movie and cast a black actor? Who would they? I mean, would Denzel work in this movie as well? I mean,
yeah, I'd say
you
so.
think so? I mean,
Yeah,
it'd be an. I mean, he's a good actor, so. But I mean, he would have to. First of all, I don't know if he could do any of the accents. I'm not sure. Yeah. I've never heard Denzel do an accent before. Denzel has his own way of speaking. I mean, it's kind of like Morgan Freeman trying to do a British accent or something. It's just it would just sound really, really weird. So I mean, I can't really picture. I mean, so I'm not, like I said, I think that they would, if they were doing this film today, they would probably do it exactly the same way. And the reason why is because maybe I'm just not imaginative enough to find an African American actor to play the part. That I'm not hooked up to the Hollywood scene, so I don't know any of the newer actors anymore. So I don't know. I think that they would, but it is an interesting point that I hadn't thought about. The whole Hollywoodization of it. I think I think you're right. They tried so hard to make it an action movie to prevent it from being a documentary. Because I think that they wanted it to have enough action and drama and plot to drive the story. Because otherwise, it would have just been a documentary, and it wouldn't have drawn nearly as many people in as explosions and gunfights. Because I mean, that's what people go to. People don't go to the theaters to watch documentaries. It's just people don't.
Well, do you not? I find that I'm downloading and watching a lot more documentaries than mainstream movies nowadays. Maybe that's just an age thing, but I find that it's more engaging to hear about real world plight problems via documentaries than like some oversimplification by Hollywood. Wouldn't you say?
All right. So this is going to sound really weird from somebody who studied history in college, but I hate documentaries. If I'm going to learn, if I'm going to watch something that's education, if I'm going to do something that's educational, I'm going to read it from a book. Maybe because that's just the way I want to learn and find out about things, is read a book or read an article or a journal or something. I'm much more likely to do it that way than watch something on the screen that's just purely educational. Now there have been some exceptions to that, like Morgan Spurlock or whatever hell his name is. I like a couple.
Yeah, Super Size Me guy.
Super Size Me, and then he did an excellent one on branding. It was really, really good. He basically got sponsors for his movie and then slammed everybody. It was hilarious. He's very, very funny. I think one of the reasons why I got turned off from documentaries is Michael Moore.
Oh, come on, he does decent ones.
I don't care for him all that much, and it has nothing to do with politics because he and I actually agree on a lot of stuff. I just don't care for him as a person. Anyways, complete. So I think that the documentary thing is just a seriously personal thing. It's a preference that some people are going to have, and I think that it's not mainstream enough to ever draw a whole bunch of people to the theater. So there have been a few documentaries that have drawn, critical acclaim or whatever, but they've never been. They've never been big enough that they're ever going to be able to draw in actors like Leonardo DiCaprio, who's going to get paid, millions and millions of dollars, and same with Jennifer Connelly and even the Digimon Houston guy. get paid all this money. Documentaries just aren't ever going to make that much money. Mainly because they end up on Netflix. That's where documentaries go to die, is on Netflix.
Is it really?
Yeah, I mean, there's
tons. They flourish there, man.
There's tons and tons of documentaries on Netflix. I mean, maybe I'm just not a Netflix guy, but I mean, it's just you go. I go to Netflix, and that's all I see is documentaries. I mean, they're like Food Inc., which is scary as hell.
Yeah.
Then there's the one about Cash, and there's the one about I mean, there's just tons and tons of documentaries on there. So again, I think it's just a personal preference. I think that's the reason why they went through in this movie with to make it more Hollywood like. So I think that's the reason why.
Yeah. So I mean, for my part, just coming back to the movie, I'd give the movie a 2 out of 5 on this one, and it's not because I hated it. It's just because I think that there are different types. Like, documentary would have been far more superior, at least in my mind, in taking it in. I think the oversimplification does prove to be a problem on a real critical world issue. Mind you, again, if you're just watching as a movie, you can't go wrong with Howard Shore music. Mind you, I think this is coming. He kind of dialed it in after doing Lord of the Rings, so he was like, "Oh man, I gotta lay off on this stuff." So here's some underscore that I wrote for Lord of the Rings. Just use that. I still can't get over the fact that 3 acting things that came out was that Leonardo DiCaprio was doing a decent accent. That B, they put Jennifer Connelly in the movie as like his counterpart, and Jennifer Connelly even gotta be like 50.
She's 46. I looked it up.
She must have been old in that movie. It's like
so she would have been 30. She should have been 35 in that movie.
Yeah, and to me that seems really old for the character that she was trying to play. It just seemed a little bit strange. And then just remarkably, again, how honestly, man, other than the Houston guy, right? Can you tell me if you recognize any black actors in that movie?
No.
Brutal.
Oh,
man.
no! You want to know what the warlord guy, the guy with the patch?
Oh, okay. Yeah,
he's also in a James Bond movie. He plays the exact same character in I think it's Casino Royale. I think so. Yeah.
Huh. Good to know. Anyways, yeah. So I mean, the movie in general, it's okay. How about you, man? What's your rating on this guy?
All right. So like I said, this is pretty much my favorite Leonardo DiCaprio movie. So I would give it probably a 3.5 or 4 out of 5. So because I really, really do like it. I've watched it several times. So it's one of the, me, I rate it based on how willingly I am going to be to watch it over and over again. And this is one that I'll watch, I'll watch again and again and again. I mean, it's not like gonna be like National Treasure where I watch it like 5 or 6 times in a week. For some stupid reason, I just got obsessed with that movie. That's not the same. But it's a movie that I will watch again, and for me, it's a good movie. It's one of the few Leonardo DiCaprio movies that I will watch again. There's only 2 others. The other 2 movies that I'll watch of his over and over again are Gangs of New York and The Departed. And again, The Departed is only because everybody dies at the end, and that's awesome. Supposedly they're doing a sequel to The Departed, and I was like, how do you do a sequel to The Departed? Everybody died. I mean, the only character in The Departed that didn't die was Mark Wahlberg. So I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me how they do a sequel to that movie. Unless it's going to end up being like actually a prequel, and then I guess I don't know how they'd work on. I mean, because The Departed was based on a true story.
Wait, Jack Nicholson doesn't die in that movie, does he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he Matt Damon's character kills him.
Does he? I can't remember that part.
He dies. He dies in the construction area. He falls backwards into like the bucket of a excavator or something.
Really? I can't remember that. Okay. No, okay.
Time to rewatch The Departed. I'm definitely doing that. All right. Anyways, I'm going to assume, Vince, that you don't have a pick of the week.
No, but I mean, let me plug though. I just want to say that I'm going to actually visit Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, or at least dance on his grave. When I'm going to be in California tomorrow,
Oh wow.
and I'm going to be in Silicon Valley and and San Jose and everything, just because I'm taking my students out there, and I'm loading up on my iPad comic books and graphic novels just because I need something to read while I'm like sitting on a 5-hour flight. And Chunky is, again, I've said it maybe once before, but it's worth reiterating. Chunky is a free app to read any CBR file, CBZ files, and man, oh man, it's easy to use. It doesn't crash all that much like other ones. And I'll tell you right now, if we're going to be looking at more comic books, man, Chunky is the way to go. It's easy to use. It works really well. It's not clunky. Beautiful system, and man, oh man, it's a great way to put literature on your portable device. So I recommend that one.
I'll definitely have to look at that. I wonder if it's available for Linux. I hope so.
Ooh, I couldn't tell you that.
Yeah, you gotta know I switched to Linux completely. So I've used Windows exactly one time in the last 2 months. That's me. Anyways, so my pick of the week is Linux related, I guess. So for a long time I used Dropbox. And then I went away because like everybody else was cheaper. Something like Google gave you a terabyte for $10, and Apple terabyte for $10, and Microsoft you pay $100 a year and you get 5 terabytes for 5 people. I mean, that's just an insane deal. But now that I'm on Linux, none of those things work on Linux except for Dropbox. And Dropbox has lowered their prices, so they're at parity with everybody else. So you get it for $100 a year. You get a terabyte of storage, and it's the thing that's best about Dropbox is that it's everywhere. I mean, there are like third-party hack clients for like Google Drive, which I've tried to use, but they're buggy.
You trust them?
Say that again, Vince.
You even trust those?
Well, I mean, a lot of people use them, so I do kind of trust them. But I only did it to get the files onto my drive, and then I deleted it. I removed access to it after I got the files onto my main hard drive. But Dropbox has an official client for Linux. I mean, that's the thing about Dropbox. It's just freaking everywhere. It's kind of like Plex. I mean, Plex is everywhere, and that's what makes it work. Because, I mean, it would be completely useless if it wasn't on the one platform that you needed it to be. So anyways, Dropbox is my pick of the week. It's just, I mean, it's an oldie but a goodie. Anyways, so that is it for us this week. We didn't go for very long, but that's okay. Actually, we might have started a little bit early. Now that I think about it. So maybe we went about. Maybe I know Vince has to go because apparently he's catching a flight tomorrow.
Yep.
You could have skipped this, Vince. I mean, get some sleep, man. You got to like. Jesus.
Nah, man,
Anyways, you want to get in contact with us, you can do so. Email at the3cast.com. You can spell that any way you like, as long as it has the 3 or the number 3, whatever. It doesn't matter. I get it either way. You can follow us on Twitter at the3cast. That is only with the number 3. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at MTWB. Ricky, who is not here, is Ricky_Williams1. Vince is VWHUI. You can also like us on Facebook at facebook.com/the3cast. Again, this is with the number 3, not it spelled out. Mainly because I'm not running 2 Facebook pages. I'm just too, I don't know if it's too lazy or just I'm not too ambitious enough. I don't care. I'm just not doing that. It's just not going to be.
No, man. You cannot expect all that craziness, man. You got life. You got life to deal with, man.
Yeah, and it's just too hard. I mean, you got to set it. It's just too hard to set it up, and it's just crazy. Anyways, I'm not sure what's coming up next, and I'm not sure when we're doing another show. I know Vince, you're out of town for like what, a week?
Yeah, so I'm not going to be next week though.
Well, next week we have a recording of the Linux cast, so I'm not sure what we'll do. We'll get together on an email. Maybe I can get you guys together on an email, and we can discuss when the next noontime show is going to happen, because I'm assuming that Ricky will need it to be at noon. Anyways, that is it for us this time. We'll be back then.
All right, take care.